Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN TV or its constituent entities. Furthermore, some parents may not find this content suitable for children as it contains explicit language and subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Or, if you're a bitch, don't fucking watch this shit. Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. Of course, I'm wherever you're listening to podcasts. Matter of fact, look, man, just Google Fired Up by Drew Duncan, and I'm going to pop right up. Wherever you're listening, I am there. And, of course, it is premiere week for me on the Hip Hop Network TV. Go ahead and download the app on your Roku, iPhone, Droid, any smart TV. Wherever you are listening, they are there. Guys, plenty to get to today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Jim Harbaugh and what he had to say about allegations while he was the head coach at Michigan. We're going to be talking about Michael Phelps, what he had to say about the ban. One and done is what Michael Phelps believes. And we're also going to be talking about Harrison Butker and his new contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. In the meantime, on the program today is one Tamika Brents. You may know her from her time in MMA. Yes, she's the one who fought Fallon Fox. But guess what? She's been doing a lot of other things since then, too, including winning a championship in women's football. Tamika, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today.
That is a wonderful intro about how amazing I am. No, I'm just thanks for having me.
You're also really humble too, Tamika. Let's go ahead and add that one to the intro.
Yeah, it's hard to do it sometimes, but you know.
You're still feeling yourself from winning that title, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. You can't tell me nothing for a year.
Which, by the way, congratulations on winning your championship. Look, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from John Elway. It was a few years after he had won his first Super Bowl, even though he had the back-to-back. And a guy asked him, he said, man, how long did you savor the flavor of that championship? He goes, honestly, still savoring a little bit of that flavor. What say you about winning your title, Tamika?
Oh, man, like I said, you ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing for a year. I feel like it's like 2 years. I mean, last year we played in the national championship game and got our ass whooped, and we were pissed about it. So clearly, we came back and we want to prove to everybody like that wasn't full 100% St. Louis football, and we did just that. So. Yeah, until we get another one, I'm gonna keep on feeling myself. I'm not gonna lie.
And look, if I'm being honest, now this is just me. One of the things that I have always said about women's football is I think it would be more respected without that bra and panty league and then just the shoulder pads, because I thought this just doesn't feel like football to me. This feels like a bunch of perverted dudes got together and said, well, this will be sexy. What I love about your league personally is that I don't feel like it's sexualized. I feel like it is the indictment that women can play this sport for real, but you're involved in the league, and obviously you speaking from a different perspective than me. What say you on the subject, Tamika?
Oh, no, I 100% agree. Like, I remember when lingerie football came out back in the day, and, as a big homosexual, I was like, hey, I like this. But at the same time, I remember just growing up around my older brothers and, seeing old, trophies from my dad, in my high school and all their football achievements and everything. And I remember just even, God, I probably was, 5 years old, and I have a picture, my mom has a picture, rather, of me and my brother's football shoulder pads. And so I was 5 years old, and I wanted to play tackle football, real football, since I was little, and it just wasn't there. Even if you played or got on the team in high school or whatever, there was probably a big chance that you weren't going to play for real. And moving here to St. Louis, it was just my wife found the slam And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is real stuff. Like, this is not, ain't no bra and panty match over here. This is some real football. We got mouthpiece, helmet, all the gear, and we're popping people. So, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I didn't want to get into no lingerie football, and I steered away from that. So.
We agreed on something. I don't know how I feel about that yet, Tamika. For me, obviously, and we're going to get into this a little bit deeper later on, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese both have brought a lot of exceptional attention to the WNBA. What do you think it's going to take to get that attention over to what you do on the women's side with football?
It's just eyes getting women's sports on TV. I mean, I think that like diehard sports fans, they know the Candace Parkers, they know the Brittany Griners, they know, Hoop Wise, they know like the Diana Taurasi's and, Sue Birds, they know those people. But like if I were to say those names to just like anybody in a grocery store, they're gonna be like, oh, but what about Angel Reese? What about Caitlin Clark? Like, so they're doing a huge service to women's sports across all the different sports. It's not just basketball. And we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that, hey, women's sport can fill the stands. We can fill the stadiums. We can fill the bleachers, everything. So I just think it's more eyes. We just need more TV time, more big money sponsors. I mean, this stuff ain't cheap. Trust me. I mean, like most of us in the league I know for the Slam ourselves, I know we put up fundraisers. We do trivia nights. We sell raffle tickets. We do all this stuff to try to pay for our own stuff. I mean, we have sponsors, but it's not like we're not like getting a Nike deal. We're not getting NIL deals and nothing like that. Like, so I just think it's getting us in front of the average Joes and getting pushed by the diehards as well.
One of the things that you talked about was somebody at a grocery store. One of the things that I was and have been somewhat upset with is one day I was at the laundromat. Clearly, everybody knows what I'm doing there. I ask them, I'm like, hey, can you guys turn on the game? And they're like, oh, yeah, I don't like how they've been treating Caitlin Clark and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, look, this is basketball. And when you're a rookie, they're going to test you. And I reminded this individual, I'm like, they did the same thing to Michael Jordan. The Pistons had what was called the Jordan rules, and you didn't hear him bitching and moaning, right? What he did was he went and built his body, and he bulked the hell up. Now, I haven't heard Caitlin complain, to be fair. What I get tired of is to me, it's a race war that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have been put in the middle of, and neither one of them asked to be involved in it. And it's funny because they really support each other. To me, they're frenemies. That's my position.
No, I definitely agree. Like, off the court, like they are cool. They text each other. They're like, comment on each other's Instagrams or whatever. And even in like the All-Star game, like they were on the same team and they gelled great because it's like they don't expect it's competitiveness. It's not, oh, I hate you. Like it's I wanna be better than you. And any real athlete or anybody that's followed sports closely their whole lives or whatever, they're going to tell you, like, look, that's just how it is. Like, Angel Reese got damn near rock bottomed in that one game. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? And look at the NFL. How many times do the rookies get popped? The first good just hit stick on a rookie. They're like, oh, welcome to the league. Nobody's complaining about that. Nobody's crying about it. They're just expected. So keep that same energy to women's sports. It's the same thing, just different genitalia.
Well, and to quote John Madden, he said initially that Reggie Bush was making the NFL look really easy. And to your point, that was until he met Hugh Douglas in the playoffs. I'm sure you saw that game when he just unleashed on him. And for me, Reggie was never the same after that. And I think any rookie will tell you the first time you get hit in the NFL, this is what Mark Schler told me, you never forget that first hit. I mean, and you don't think you can make it. Only the real ones survive.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I mean, you could take that to literally everything. It's like wrestling. The first time you get suplexed, like MMA, the first time you take a kick right to the face or eat a liver shot. Like everybody remembers at least the first time or the worst time they've taken a liver shot, a liver punch, a liver kick, a knee to the liver. Somebody's going to have a story like, yeah, I felt that one. I'll never forget where I was at, who did it, and what it felt like.
We are talking to Tamika Brents. We are live. The show is fired up. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You can catch us over on the Hip Hop Network TV. Simply download the app on any smartphone, any smart TV, your iPhone, your iPad, etc. Wherever you want it, it is available there. Tamika, as I made mention in the intro, you've done more with your career than fight Fallon Fox. But every now and again, that subject just finds a way to open itself back up. Obviously, with the Olympics, it's become a topic of discussion. But before we get into the Olympics, do you ever get frustrated that it seems that that's the only way that people know who you are, by using you as an example on either side of the coin of the argument?
I try to flip it, and I'm just like, no, there's no such thing as bad publicity type stuff, but yeah, it does get annoying sometimes. I'm like, all right, I had plenty of other fights before that. Like, I was ranked number 6 in the world as a pro featherweight before all that. Like, come on, put some respect on my name. I'm not just that fight. But at the same time, it's just like, it's annoying. I think the biggest thing that annoys me about it is they try to use that fight and use my name to perpetuate some kind of hatred. And that's not me. Do not keep on that front, keep my damn name out your mouth, because this ain't that. Like, you know what I mean? That's the most annoying thing about that entire situation.
Well, and as I made mention of earlier to you before we went live on the air, I did have MMA trainer Austin Ford on the program yesterday. He's trained and knows some significant people from the Bellator days, UFC, etc. You know, and one of the things that he talked about was, look, with the Khalif situation right now in the Olympics, I don't believe that anybody that is related to Muslim would allow a transgendered person to represent them. Now, to him, that's what he says logic is. I will maintain what I said yesterday and what I said today. There are so many conflicting reports out there that I'm not really sure what to believe. At the end of the day, Tamika, what is your opinion on this whole situation with the Olympics right now and Khalif?
Well, I think I'm a victim of misinformation too on that front. In the very beginning, at first they were saying she was intersex, but lived her entire life as a woman, as a girl, a woman. But then it came to find out that was a whole, like, some big, like, boxing thing in her country. Like, it was some scandal thing, and they called her intersex. So that's where that came from, which wasn't true. All of the other interviews and articles on it, I found that she has a chromosomal disorder. Her body creates higher testosterone, which is, some people are like, oh, that's an advantage, and blah blah blah. So she shouldn't be able to fight, which I think is bullshit. Because, I mean, like you mentioned Michael Phelps earlier, about a totally different subject, but Michael Phelps, like, his wingspan is ridiculous compared to his height. And he also has a disorder where his body creates half the lactic acid of a normal human being, especially a male athlete. So wouldn't that be an advantage for him? But he gets called a phenom and the GOAT and blah, blah, blah. But now they're trying to say that she shouldn't be able to fight and all this other thing. And look, I don't know if y'all know this, but did you know that you're supposed to hit your opponent in boxing as hard as you can? So who cares? Like, who cares? And the opponent she fought after that girl, I forget where the girl was from, but the girl that quit, that opponent was fine. So I think it was a little I think there was a little bitch in her blood, so she quit. That's all. I said what I said.
Yes, you did.
That's what I think.
Yeah, hey, look, Tamika's never been one. If this is your first time here, folks, with Tamika Brents, just know she don't mean nothing by it, but she also means something by it, if that makes any damn sense. Look, the name of the game in boxing, as you said, is to hit the other person as hard as you can. Let's discuss here for a moment the antithesis, because there are plenty of people out there that, regardless of whether or not she's transgendered, would say that a transgendered person is going to have a huge advantage over a born female, right? Now, obviously, you have the experience with this, not just with your sexuality and all those things, but having been in the octagon with Fallon Fox. At the end of the day, do you feel that there is an advantage that is presented by somebody who is transgendered?
I think yes. I can only speak to my own experience, and I think that yes, I felt a significant difference in strength and just grip strength in and of itself. So I'm going to say yes. But at the same time, if science comes out and there's more reports that are all across the board saying the same thing, then I'm not a closed-minded person to where I'm going to be like, no, not true. I can only tell you my own thing. But at the same time, I do think there's a difference between when you transition. Somebody who's been on hormone therapy and been transitioning male to female since they were 16 years old, I don't really think there's much of a difference in that. Like, okay, you transition, you've been on these hormone therapies since you were in high school, and then you transition, and then you want to do women's sports. That, I would say, I wouldn't really care. But when you go through puberty and you have, like, your bone density and your hormones are all the way, for lack of a better word, complete, I guess. But I think that's different. But I will say that I think it's still way too many factors to say it's a black and white situation. There's way too much gray all the way through the entire topic.
We're talking to Tamika Brents live on the show Fired Up. I am your host, Drew Duncan, on the Hip Hop Network TV and Block 50 Radio, block50radio.com. Tamika, as I made mention of, you've done so many other things with your life since you fought. What was the ultimate thing, though, for you that when you looked at your life and you looked in the mirror and you decided to hell with it, I'm just going to go ahead and retire? For you, what was the final thing that led you to that moment?
Well, I officially haven't retired, but I will say, like, I'm pretty good on MMA. Still trying to get a Muay Thai fight, though. But as for MMA, it's more of just body wear and tear, honestly. And this might sound strange to people who haven't done jiu-jitsu or wrestled or done any MMA, but it's actually easier on my body, specifically my knees, going from MMA to Muay Thai. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not like I've had offers, I've had all sorts of opportunities for MMA, and I'm just, yeah, the way your knees gotta do something. They gotta do some, at least a little kind of bending in an awkward way to really excel in jiu-jitsu, and it's called mixed martial arts for a reason. So I want to be able to put 100% of me and my body into the sport. And I feel like with me not being able to do jiu-jitsu at that high level because of my knees, it would just do a disservice to the sport that I love and I came into. But I love MMA. The love will never go away. And if something pops up to where, like, look, my knees are feeling really good this year, let's fuck it. Let's take an MMA fight. Then I have no problems hopping back in there for that, as long as I can train well. But Muay Thai is where it's at right now for me. And it's just, honestly, Muay Thai is just easier in my body, and I think it's a little more violent. I mean, everybody likes to see people stand and bang, so might as well just keep it over there.
Well, Scott Jones, Husky Fat Promotions, they just signed that deal with NBC. If they're out there listening, Tamika Brents is looking for a Muay Thai fight, guys. Speaking of which, they've been using the small gloves over there at Husky Fat. They've been using 4-ounce gloves, and Scott Jones and I, who's the fight promoter over there for them, we've had this conversation a couple of times, and specifically on the show, about, look, traditional boxing, 10-ounce gloves, 12-ounce gloves, can actually bring a lot more damage. You're talking about wear and tear on the body. Do you think that the 4-ounce gloves with Muay Thai and kickboxing, and maybe even introducing it into boxing at some point, is a safer way to go ahead and throw hands versus traditional 12 and 10-ounce gloves?
I think it just depends. Like, I think there's just pros and cons to either one. I mean, I feel like you can block a little better, block more, get away with a little more things in the 10, 12-ounce gloves. Of course, the eye pokes and everything at the MMA gloves. So, but I would definitely, what I would like to see is like boxing style gloves, but like small, like compact, small ones. So we don't get the eye pokes, but at the same time, you're still getting that, like, we can even do like 6-ounce, super small boxing gloves. I would love to see that. But yeah, I just think it's just pros and cons either way. For myself, I don't care as long as I get to hit you and you try to hit me.
She is Tamika Brents. I am Drew Duncan. The show is fired up, and we are live on Block 50 Radio and the Hip Hop Network TV. Tamika, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join the show. As I do with all of my guests, I give them an opportunity to say whatever it is that's on their mind. You are no exception to the rule. Please take a moment. The floor is 100% yours. There's no right or wrong answer here, Tamika.
Well, biggest thing is shout out to St. Louis Slam women's football. We just won a national title in the WSA Pro Division. If you are in the St. Louis area, surrounding areas, we got people that come over from Belleville, Illinois, all sorts of places. If you are a woman and you have always wanted to play tackle football, hit us up if you are in the area. We usually start workouts in January. We have tryouts, multiple tryout days up until we get started in preseason next year, which is late February, early March area. Definitely hit us up. We are always looking for bodies. The bigger, the better, the better for that on that front. If you are if you have any MMA or Muay Thai rather, Muay Thai promotions, hit me up. I'll fight at 155. I'm not going to 145 no more because I like to eat. Anyway, thank you to all my friends and family for always supporting me. They were watching our national title game on ESPN, and they're taking pictures and everything. So thank y'all. Thank you to my wife. She's always amazing. If you are in need of a weight cut and nutrition specialist, her name is Terry. You can find her at gut. You can find her at gut_uppercut on Instagram. If you are a weight cut person, wrestling, fighting, whatever you need to, she has all your answers for you. And thank you to you, Andrew. Now you can stop blowing up my phone because he be calling me all sorts of late at night, trying to get me on his phone. I think he just like talking to me or something. I don't know, but no, thank you, bro.
Hey, look, Mika, don't play with me. Don't play with me, because if you weren't gay, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd be on your phone real late at night. But but no, seriously, thank you so much, Tamika. I really do appreciate you taking time away from your family and everything to talk to me again. Congratulations on your championship in women's football. Looking to see you repeat this coming season. You are an amazing person, and I really do appreciate it, Tamika.
No, I appreciate you.
Again, thank you so much for Tamika being on the program, taking time out of your schedule to come and talk to us. I really do appreciate it. A little bit later on, we've still got Michael Phelps to talk about, Harrison Butker to talk about. But in the meantime, Coach Harbaugh getting hit with the questions because the NCAA is putting the hammer down on Michigan. You know, stuff like this happens, and I get so conflicted because I can't stand the NCAA for the most part, but I also can't stand when coaches just get deniability. And it's all so damn hypocritical. Regardless of how you look at it, everybody's going to be a hypocrite in these situations. I mean, come on, man. Tress and Pete Carroll and a host of other coaches have all just, oh, well, I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue. And then what happens? They get to hop ship and go to the NFL. But Reggie Bush, though, he gets forced into giving back his Heisman. Terrell Pryor, when he tried to do what Tress did and bounce to the NFL after he got suspended by the NCAA for 6 games, Goodell said, that ain't going to happen, Broham. You are going to be suspended here too. And I want to be clear. The Indianapolis Colts in the NFL never suspended Coach Tressel. That was Tressel's idea, and he was getting Terrell Pryor's back, which, by the way, was about damn time because we all remember how Maurice Clarett was treated. So the reality of the situation is I get frustrated because I see things like this, and I think to myself, Harbaugh, of course, is going to deny. And I don't give a damn whether or not Sharon is deleting text messages. I don't give a damn if Harbaugh doesn't want to turn over his phone because let's be honest, sports is the biggest leak anything. And there's a lot of things that are in there that are nobody's business. If the NCAA wants to review text messages, then they could do what everybody else does, and that is go and get a court order and make them turn over those text messages because that's what the company's going to do. If you've got T-Mobile or Verizon or whomever, you can be taken to court, and then they from there can decide whether or not they are going to turn over text messages to you because all that stuff gets left on a backup. So it doesn't go anywhere. So the NCAA is telling us that Jim Harbaugh is refusing to cooperate, that allegedly Sharon Moore is deleting text messages. I, for one, don't really give a damn. And number two, in the day and age of the NIL deal and all this stuff where the NCAA has continuously tried to put their foot down on people's necks and it is becoming more and more unsuccessful, they are using anybody they can as a way to show that they still have control and power over people when they are losing it more and more by the day. You don't believe me? Initially, 13 states, Missouri, New York, and a host of others passed a law that said third-party investigations into potentially wrongful NIL deals are not going to be investigated, and you have the right to sue. In other words, you have the right to sue the NCAA. Well, the NCAA put out a memo to everybody and said, we don't give a damn what your laws are in your state. We supersede them. Really? That was proven to be wrong because Tennessee was under investigation. That state then passed a law, and so it halted the investigation by the NCAA. And sometimes the NCAA does come up with BS investigations. I mean, come on. Look at what happened with Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. The reality is the whole damn thing was over some guy at the Y who was giving some of his players a little bit of money here and a little bit of money there. There was allegedly a linebacker that got some benefits, which, by the way, literally has nothing to do with Jim Boeheim 99% of the time, and it has nothing to do with the coach. They suspended Boeheim for 9 games. They took away a bunch of his wins, which at the time would have made him the winningest basketball coach of all time, not Coach K. And they told him that he had no control over his program. Meanwhile, how long was OU out there in the 70s and 80s willy-nilly just giving money to people? Impermissible benefits have always happened, and they will always happen at the collegiate level. The NIL deals have just slowed the whole damn thing down is all. There's always going to be something, though, that they do in terms of recruiting or whatever the case may be. And to be honest with you, what Jim Harbaugh could get in terms of a show cause are pretty much BS. Like you take Bruce Pearl, for instance, when it happened to him at Auburn. He went to Auburn and the NCAA said, well, you can't recruit while you're off campus. It's got to be during an on-campus visit. That's the only time you're allowed to show your face to a potential recruit. What am I going to do? I don't know. Just send everybody else the hell out there. Ridiculous. I guess we're just going to do a Zoom call then. Come on, man. And look, I understand that some people are going to go, well, Sharon Moore was suspended last season. Doesn't anybody remember that? Doesn't anybody remember Michigan trying to suspend Jim Harbaugh and do an internal thing and all that stuff on multiple occasions? Yeah, sure. I do remember that, 100%. But that's what every university does. They impose their own, hoping that the NCAA will be laxed on theirs. I mean, that's what it always amounts to, right? And what you're really trying to do is prove that we've already handled it, when really what you're doing is making yourself look guilty. So, potentially, something to the NCAA had to have gone on, because they're going to look at that and go, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you go ahead and implement a suspension on Harbaugh? And a host of other things on yourself. Why are you doing this? Guess it's time for us to look deeper, which we all know the NCAA doesn't mind looking deeper, even though they look deeper into the Reggie Bush situation, and for some weird reason, never bothered to make mention of a guy named Lloyd Link, who wanted to be an agent, who was the actual one that gave Reggie Bush's family the house with the lawn and the car, and then Reggie Bush's stepdad took that car and gave it to Reggie. Now, if Tress and Carroll and all these other coaches are going to get deniability, then why in the absolute hell is Reggie exempt from that? See, this is what I mean. The hypocritical factor is just so deep with the NCAA and the NFL. Harbaugh, Carroll, Tress, man, they all get to go to the NFL. Everybody else, you're fucked. I mean, what does anybody really give a damn anymore about what the NCAA has to say about anything? Any college football fan knows that 90% of all NCAA investigations probably start with a real good reason, but end with some extreme bullshit. And it gets tiresome. It gets tiresome trying to figure out what the NCAA is going to do. And I said it long before old Feinbaum did, that they're going to take forever, that they're going to wait till the season is over. But the issue that I have, and that I had, that nobody else is touching on right now, is okay, they got in. And we all remember what happened to Florida State. Undefeated, they didn't get in. Michigan got in with all these pending violations. It was the first question that Harbaugh was asked after they won the national championship, or the college football playoff, I should say. And I was just like, man, what if they win this and then that title gets vacated any fucking way? It's not going to make any damn sense. You know, I just sit back and I think to myself, the NCAA is still trying everything that they can to show that they are the big boss in charge Really, they're not. It's just a shield now, man. It really is. It literally doesn't symbolize anything anymore. The only thing that it symbolizes to me is a 19-year-old who's still trying to make it to the NFL. And even then, when you make $4 million, $10 million, $30 million in college, is there really an incentive to absolutely go to the NFL? So I think the NCAA knows that. And it's bizarre to me that they would want to continue to fuck themselves over with the way that they are handling situations like this and alike. I'm just saying. In the meantime, Michael Phelps. Boy, is he stirring the pot right now. Eh? Look, with Michael Phelps, you have a lot of people upset right now because he said, look, if you test positive one time for doping, you shouldn't be allowed. And a lot of people are like, well, let's not forget, Mike. Bro, it was weed. It was marijuana. That's what happened. Buddy got caught smoking the ganja, what was it, in Thailand or wherever the hell he was? And so the Olympic Committee said, you can't do that. That's performance enhancing. That marijuana is helping you relax. Yeah, because nobody wants to blow off steam after doing all that training. Look, do I agree with Michael Phelps or not? Well, here's the thing. The window for most athletes, if you're talking about the physical prime, in particular, let's say a dude, is usually about 29 to 33, right? You go back and you look at almost anybody's career. I mean, that's most of the time when they were at their peak. And it's not just about the physical prowess, right? It's about you've learned, you've adapted, you've gained so many new skills, right? There's just 1,000,001 different factors, okay? But honestly, most Olympic athletes are retiring at a fairly early age, before they even hit 30. Why? Well, like I talked about yesterday, number one, there's not much in return. I mean, some people might get an apartment or a house or something built for them, but that usually is thanks to Nike or somebody else, and they really don't own that. You got to understand that. They don't own anything. It's all being temporary lended out, right? One bad move and you don't got none of that shit anymore. The point of what I'm saying is there's little return. We have 592 different athletes competing for the United States alone this year. You think they're all getting an apartment? Think they're all getting a house? Think they're all getting $37,000 for a gold medal that they didn't win? No. And by and large, that's still less than what Singapore, for instance, would get. If Simone Biles was being paid for gold medals the way that Singapore pays their athletes for gold medals, she'd be over $3 million right now. Look, the point of what I'm getting to here is the window for an Olympic athlete is a little bit tighter in most instances than it is for, let's say, an NFL player. Barring injury, of course, right? Because the average NFL career is, 2.5 years? But if they're able to stay healthy, you can create longevity for yourself, right? So in your 30s, you could be in your prime. But they're also getting a return. They're getting a fat paycheck. So there's an incentive there to an extent. What I'm saying is, I don't know if I agree with him, but I think I see where he's coming from. And look, roid rage is a very real thing. I mean, I interviewed Matt Brown right after Mark Hunt fought Brock Lesnar. What was it, UFC 200? And I asked Matt Brown, I said, look, man, do you really think it should be one and done and that's it? Well, he stood by Mark Hunt, but why did he stand by Mark Hunt? Because when you're in that cage and somebody goes into a roid rage, there's going to be problems. And I'm talking about real problems. I, for one, don't know about one and done, but I think there should be maybe a suspension involved. You messed up, you're not going to be able to compete in 2028. We'll see you in 2032. Try again then. Same thing happened with Sha'Carri, right? She wasn't able to compete in the last Olympics because she allegedly was toking a little bit of ganja, which again is stupid. It's just chronic, but it is what it is. They suspended her, but she came back this year, and she's had a pretty good run. But again, the window is closing. Why is that relevant? I don't get it. What the hell? Why you keep saying that? Because, dude, the reality is if the window is closing for you, then it's closing for everybody else. And if you are doping, then you are potentially taking somebody else's spot who's actually better than you are. They don't need the assistance. And it's bizarre to think because I've interviewed a lot of people who will say, man, bring back steroids. Which me personally, I just can't get behind. There's just too many risks behind it. The physical prowess is not what people necessarily think that it is. When somebody's juicing, by and large, the extra edge that it's really giving you is an energy boost that is completely unnatural. That's generally what that amounts to. So for my money, I'm just sitting around thinking to myself, like, I get where he's coming from, but I don't think one and done is the answer either. I really just don't. And you have to understand that when you are training, there is a lot of trust with people who are handling your food, people who are handling your drinks. I know it sounds silly to people, but look. Thanks, Trainer Joe. This tastes delicious. What did you put in my juice this morning? Oh, just some of this and just some of that. It'll help you with this. It'll help you with that. Wow, I feel a lot of energy. You do? Well, let's go ahead and use that right now. It's not as far-fetched as you would think. Bottom line here, I don't think one and done is a solution. I think everybody deserves a second chance. I think second chances are what this country was potentially built on, partially, in terms of how we handle things. I think everybody in life wants a second chance. And I don't want to hear about how they're athletes and how they should be held to a separate standard than everybody else. These people, a majority of the time, are not preachers. They're not cops. They're not judges, at least at the time of being an athlete. I really just think that we need to relax a little bit. You know, and I understand where Michael Phelps is coming from again because he got a lot of shit, man, for smoking weed. He got a lot of shit. He lost a lot of sponsorships when that hell broke loose and everything went down. He lost a lot. So maybe he's projecting a little bit, man. I don't know. I really don't give a damn. And I understand that Michael Phelps, the athlete, has the right, having experienced a lot of things, to maybe fuck my opinion, right? Simultaneously, sometimes people are just too damn harsh. And I think this would be one of those situations where if we look at it objectively, I think it would be very easy to say to ourselves, man, you know what? I think one and done's a little bit much, bro. Now, if they're so roided up that it's like, bro, I don't know how you didn't Hulk up right now. I don't know how you're not Thor right now. I mean, dude is glowing like Thanos. Then sure. You know, I could see something where it's like if it's a crazy doping amount, then yeah. Most people, though, are not going to have that much in there. And most are just gaining a little bit of an edge anyways. I mean, come on, what was the old thing when all the baseball shit came out and that whole book and everything? And it was all, well, still have to be able to keep your eye on the ball, right? I mean, if that's the argument that we're going with for shit like this, then, I mean, to hell with it, right? Man, I'm just saying. I think we need to calm down a little bit with how we handle athletes. And I think we need to calm down on punishments. And even though I don't believe in doping, I think that more people are doing it than we realize. They're just not getting caught. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. Block50radio.com, the HHN TV app. I am wherever you're listening to podcasts. Google Fired Up by Drew Duncan. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Doesn't look like we're going to have time to get to Harrison Butker today, but that's okay. We'll get to it mañana. Pending anyways. Your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.